Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thursday, 3 p.m., May 30th. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman. We have seen the second open OTA of the spring for the Eagles. 3 days of mandatory minicamps loom next week, but we can tell you now what we saw today, what we heard, Zach, what we smelled, what we touched. How you doing?
Doing great. Excited to be on the show with you. It was great seeing you in person today. Well, I see you in person every day. Great seeing you at the facility today, and enjoyed watching practice and excited to talk about it. I am, as the chat knows, for newcomers on the PHLY Eagles show, I am at the Eagles facility right now. So this backdrop here is actually in the media workroom in the Eagles facility.
You know, if you don't see character counts behind you, that you're playing a road game.
That is correct. Although character should count everywhere you go, right? So,
well, then you need to bring the sign with you. Otherwise, you'll forget.
I can travel with it. Sure enough.
I mean, I think we can talk about the fact that, people have been talking at practice that maybe for you, character doesn't always count when it comes to respecting the boundaries of where people are supposed to stand.
Yeah, I don't think we need to talk about that. I think character always counts. But no, I think what people want to know today is the way Isaiah Rodgers played, is my guess.
You think that's it? You think that's number one? You don't think they want to know that Jalen Hurts threw an interception and the quarterbacks looked like garbanzo beans? You think they don't care about the fact that Quinton Mitchell took a rep in the slot or that Cooper DeJean continued to move all over the place? You think the number one thing they want to know is how did Isaiah Rodgers look?
I was transitioning away from meaningless talk about me, but
it's too much. The palpable Ben Van Sumeren buzz that you talked about earlier this week is not at play here either.
The palpable. So this is our third show of the week. I said that there's people saying that Van Sumeren should make the team. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Somebody mentioned it that it was it's like, you can tell that you guys do a lot of episodes when Zach's talking about all of the talk about Ben Van Sumeren that is going on.
We don't do too many episodes, so I appreciate everyone watching all our episodes. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, we cover everybody. We've had Gabe Hall discussion. We've had what's his name? Sean Stevens caught an interception today. You would know who Sean Stevens is if you watch the PHLY Eagles show daily. So if you follow this show every day and you don't know all the minutia about the team, then shame on us.
All right, let's as some annoying commenter says, get to the point here.
That's actually me. That's my pseudonym. I'm saying that. Yeah, let's get to
Prince Swayze. That's you. Yeah. How did you come up with that? You understand that now I am obligated to not get to the point.
No, you're not obligated. Let's get to the point. You are astute practice.
How many Patrick Swayze movies can you name?
I don't think I can name a Patrick Swayze movie.
Not a single one.
Not a single one. No.
Really?
No. Wow. Can you?
Yeah.
I would like to know if I've seen one.
Getting kind of hazy. What's that?
I don't know if I've seen one either.
Okay. Ghost, as somebody mentions. Roadhouse, the classics.
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 38 years old. Is that like an uncommon thing?
I think it's uncommon to not be able to name a movie that he's been in, yes.
I actually don't. I mean, there's things I know and there's things I don't. And I don't try to act as if I know the things I don't. But what I do know is about Eagles practice.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. We're going to be back at noon. That'll do it for this episode of the P. Okay. Let's. Do you want to talk depth chart stuff? Do you want to talk big picture takeaways from the 7-on-7 and full team periods that we had? Do you want to talk about the press conferences that I thought were a little bit interesting? Where would you like to start?
I would say big picture takeaways start, then we hit depth chart, and then we can get to the press conferences at the end.
Okay. The theme of this day, and let's not make too much of this. It's one very, very tiny part of a larger picture. One spring practice. We don't know what they were intended, like what their instructions were, if they were supposed to be forcing balls. But the story of the day of the practice was that the quarterbacks, all three of them, did not look very good. There were 4 interceptions in 7-on-7 and team period drills, and a few others that could have been hauled in. Jalen Hurts was intercepted twice on short passes, one that was sort of batted around and then eventually hauled in by Zach Bond. And then later there was a Nick Sirianni calls out a special one play at the end of the period, situational football. This is a thing that he likes to do. Backs up the offense, 3rd and 5 from the 6-yard line. And as Jalen Hurts comes back to pass, he was throwing a lot of short passes today, a lot of them to A.J. Brown, and we can get to who was not there. But Isaiah Rodgers comes flashing in, and the most impressive interception of the day was this one because it was a play that sort of mattered a little bit more, and he read it perfectly and came in and would have been a pick six were it a real play. It sort of looked like, wow, Isaiah Rodgers, what did he do all year long? He was just watching Jalen Hurts snaps all year long, so he could really flash and practice and knew exactly where he was going. So that was a really
wouldn't be the worst idea if that was the case, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kenny Pickett was picked off on a ball downfield. John Ross looked like he had a step on Mekhi Garner and Tristan McCollum, but the ball was underthrown, and Mekhi Garner rose up and picked it.
What you get it? He picked it against Pickett. He's like, yeah, he picked it against Pickett. I thought you'd appreciate that wordplay. I guess not. You have nothing to say there. That's your boy too, Mekhi Garner. Bo, come on, Bo. All right. Can we please resume here, Bo?
I mean, I was going. You stopped me. You might as well take it from here.
All right, continue, please. We don't need to do this. Continue, please.
And then Sean Stevens had an interception of Tanner McKee later in practice. Sean Stevens, the tryout player. I'm sorry, you've ground the show to a screeching halt.
So what you're suggesting is that if someone interrupts you with wordplay during the show, it grounds the show to a screeching halt.
I think if one of us does it, yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say if
only one can play at that game.
Yeah, if I abided by said rule, all our shows would be about 6 minutes. So, which might not be the worst thing, but all right, let's continue.
Okay. What did you think of the quarterback, Zach?
Yeah, I thought that the defense won the day, so to speak, right? That if this was training camp, that's how you'd spin it, that the defense won the day. I was underwhelmed overall by the offense's performance. I thought Pickett had a nice pass. I think it was the E.J. Jenkins, middle of the field that E.J. caught. But overall, I
had quite a flashy 2 practices.
Yeah, I would venture to say that he's the best EJ who's played for the Eagles. Although Biggers might have some pushback on that. Anyways, I was not taken aback by the quarterback's performances today. I think that's it's one practice, and in May, like you said, you don't know what specifically they were working on, but I think unless the goal was to throw the ball to the other team, then this was the objective was not reached there. I would say there was one play. Kelee Ringo made a nice play on the ball. I thought it was Reed Blankenship at one point. I'm sorry about that. In my notes,
easy to get confused.
Well, they both have a 2 is the second number of their.
Yeah.
So you're looking at jersey numbers often, right? But overall, yeah, I thought that the defense was was all over the place today.
Yeah,
and I like Bond's interception. I thought Bond's interception showed it showed some athleticism on Bond's part. It was like tipped in the air, or I should say coordination on Bond's part. Stuck with it, hauled it in. I thought it was going to hit the ground, but still made the catch.
Yeah, but in this setting, like the least important of the interceptions, because like he's not the one who made the initial play on the ball. He's just the one who was able to haul it in after batting it around for a few times. That's not indicative of like what he needs to do on the field. Isaiah Rodgers breaking on a pass perfectly is much more important.
I was not suggesting that Zach Bond's interception was better than Isaiah Rodgers's. I was saying that's an interception that stood out to me because I am learning about Zach Bond here. And I thought Zach Bond showed good coordination making that play.
So the larger context here, right, is Devontae Smith was not at practice today. So the starting offense that Jalen Hurts is throwing to is A.J. Brown and sort of mostly Joseph Ngata and Paris Campbell as the top 3 receivers. However, these drills, for the most part, there was one period of team drills, but 7-on-7 is weighted in the offense's favor. The quarterback and the offense should be able to complete the ball a lot. And it was not just the 2 interceptions. Jalen Hurts did not have a particularly good day. Jalen Hurts is allowed to have not good days in the spring. I think we have seen over the course of his career that he is probably a better game player than a practice player for a lot of reasons, right? He's not using everything in his arsenal in practice. But if you were like expecting him to be at the, we always, all us Eagles beats remember the Tom Brady joint practices where like the ball never hits the ground. Obviously, that is not the kind of quarterback that Jalen Hurts is. But like, as a practice player, he is not playing at that level right now. I don't think that really matters. It wouldn't even bother me a lot. But if we're going to talk about the day's practice, he was not good today.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're installing a new defense. They're installing a new defense. There's lots of moving parts, all that stuff.
If the national reporter was coming in for one day and watching the Eagles practice, the headline would be, is there concern about Jalen Hurts, right? It's like when you see MoMA make plays, and it's like, why aren't more people talking about MoMA? That would be the like one practice isolation. But again, I would not worry about Jalen Hurts, and I thought particularly the Rodgers one, Rodgers made a play on the ball, right? I really like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now the flip side to that is that meant that it was a good day for the secondary, and we saw a lot of moving parts in the secondary. Now, continuing the guys who were not at practice today, no James Bradbury as expected, no Darius Slay, no C.J. Gardner-Johnson, no Josh Sweat for that period. But so that meant that the secondary, for the most part today, the first team defense was a safety pairing of Reed Blankenship and Avonte Maddox, which takes Avonte Maddox out of the slot and puts Tyler Hall in the slot and Isaiah Rodgers and Kelee Ringo on the outside. We talked about the Rodgers interception. I thought Ringo had a good day as well. You continued down the depth chart. Some interesting stuff as we sort of try to figure out how Vic Fangio is going to use guys. Cooper DeJean, again, playing all 3 cornerback positions. No safety today, but most of his work coming in the nickel, but some work on the outside. And Quinton Mitchell.
One time.
I'll just finish quickly. And Quinton Mitchell, last week when we saw him, he was only playing right cornerback. Now, Darius Slay was there that day. Today, working with the second team, he played both left and right cornerback and actually took one snap in nickel at a point in practice, which I thought was interesting.
And that's why you're an astute observer of practice. I did not pick up on that. Good work there. There was one snap with the Gene where it almost looked like he was playing quasi linebacker. I just think it was the slot assignment was lined up tight to the formation, right? But you are right about the Gene. Like he's lined up all over the place there. That stands out. Stands out 2 weeks in a row that Rodgers is with the first team, even with Ringo back. Right now, Slay's not out there.
Yeah.
Slay's not out there, but Ricks is back, right? They have another week of Quinton Mitchell. That's not a spot that kind of is rotating in and out. That Rodgers is there, so it's certainly on my radar to pay attention to Isaiah Rodgers for sure.
Okay, well we can get to let's stick on Isaiah Rodgers then because we're talking about him. He spoke after practice. What did you learn from speaking to Isaiah Rodgers during his press conference?
Yeah, that the Eagles were on him pretty quickly last year, right? The Eagles called, like that's how initiated. That's how it was initiated. They were the only team to call. He spent the past year kind of watching, eager to get back. I asked about the gambling punishment and kind of what can be learned from that. And his answer to that was simply like, you need to know your consequences. Don't do it or you'll be in trouble. He's an example of that. Like you need to know the rules. And then from he seemed he seemed eager to be here in Philly. This was an opportunity that like I said, the Eagles jumped out on him, and that he's waited around to be back here. What jumped out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting. Well, he talked about how his goal for when being away from the team, and he's not allowed to be like communicating with the team in any way, right? His goal was to sort of stay on the NFL routine. So he would like work out really hard on Sundays, take Tuesdays off, but otherwise try to sort of stick to that cadence. I thought it was interesting. The first time we've heard from him.
Yeah, he likes the new kickoff rules. He says once you get past the first wave, there's nothing but open field in front of you.
There you go. He did work with the punt returners today. I thought at one point he mentioned that he was asked about can he play inside. He's only played outside here so far. Only played outside in Indianapolis. He said I'll do whatever. If they want me to rush the passer, I can do that too. And I just could sense you were thinking, ooh, this guy's positionless.
I was not sensing that. I think it was more this guy's an industrious, right? This guy will do what the coaching staff wants him to do, right? And I'm still waiting for the first player to be like, nah, I don't do that. That's not for me, right? But
Fletcher Cox has done that in the past.
True. You get to a certain point, you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
I feel like there's somebody else who did that once before too, and I can't remember who. But anyway.
But yeah, I enjoyed talking to all those guys. I imagine we'll get to each of them. But
yes,
I thought Rodgers, like I admit when I spoke about Rodgers for the last few months, one thing I said was that there's this like curiosity, fascination about him, probably a little more than Ben Van Sumeren, but on the Van Sumeren scale, a little higher. Yeah, this is something that fans kept saying, don't forget about Isaiah Rodgers. And I kept being like, look, this guy hasn't played football in a year, right? The Eagles added 2 corners here in the draft. Let's keep this in perspective. But if I were doing my 53 at the end of the summer, which I imagine I will, should be a diehard on PHLY.com. Isaiah Rodgers is probably getting a nod, right? I mean, he's pretty high up there right now. They could have Josh Jobe in there. They could have, like I said, Eli Ricks is back for a second year. For 2 weeks in a row, for that to be Isaiah Rodgers stood out to me for sure.
I don't think there's any doubt that the player on whom my opinion has changed the most over the course of the last 2 weeks is Isaiah Rodgers. Not only like is he getting those nods, and again, it's just 2 practices. Who knows how they're shuffling things around, and we'll see a little bit more next week. But he looks good too. He's 26 years old. He's in the prime of his career. He doesn't look like he has lost a step. He looks good to me, and they're very deep there. I still don't think he's guaranteed of making the roster, but the way that he looks would probably also make you feel even more comfortable about just moving on from James Bradberry, come whenever the Eagles want to do that.
And you heard at the owners' meetings that Jeffrey Lurie said Isaiah Rodgers is a big part of their plans. And you didn't know if Jeffrey Lurie just has an affinity for players named Rodgers, because he once did that for Jacquizz Rodgers. But
and Vic Rod.
Yeah, but certainly I think now that we've seen 2 weeks, you don't want to overreact, but that's not one that I would underreact to. I think we're appropriately reacting to the Isaiah Rodgers attention.
Yeah, I think that's right. All right, before we get on to some of the other depth chart machinations and stuff like that, Zach, let's talk about our old friends at Miller Lite, because a lot has changed over the years, but one thing that hasn't, well, it's that great sweet taste of an ice cold Miller Lite. Miller Lite sparked the debate back in 1975 about what matters more, less filling, great taste. Great taste, less filling. Well, you don't have to decide with Miller Lite because you get both. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, only 96 calories. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. A light beer that tastes like beer, less filling, and only 96 calories. When you're debating Ben Van Sumeren with your friends, you're sucking them back. You want an ice cold Miller Lite, because Miller Lite has been the original light beer since 1975. You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLY birds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
It's a beautiful day outside today. It's the type of day where you want to go to Rite Aid. And the reason I say that is because Rite Aid is your last minute stop for all your perfect, for all the things you need to stock up for the summer. If you're going to the pool, they have goggles and floaties and sunscreen. You can check off everything you need with one stop at Rite Aid. If you're standing outside of football practice, they have sunscreen for you and your whole family. You can lather up before you go out. If you're taking a hike, they have first aid supplies. You can stock up on bug spray and bandages. If you're doing a podcast and your throat is, your mouth is parched, like you need some water, they have snacks and drinks, all your favorites. If you want to have a picnic, they have paper supplies. And if you want to have a treat, they have ice cream. Try Thrifty ice cream. Pick up a container today. It's available exclusively at Rite Aid. Save $10 in Rite Aid bonus cash when you spend $50. It's available May 26th to June 1st, so it expires on Saturday. In-store only. Visit riteaid.com/weekly deals. It's valid 5/26/24 to 6/1/24. Purchase must be on eligible products in a single transaction, excluding sales tax, and after all other applicable discounts are applied. Limited one per transaction. Redeemable only at Rite Aid pharmacy stores. No cash given, not void if duplicated. Not valid on prescriptions and copays, alcohol, tobacco products, lottery, money services, gift cards, prepaid cards, newspapers, stamps, online purchases, mailing services, licenses, or items excluded by law. If it's lost, stolen, or damaged, or expired coupons, they will not be honored or replaced. They're not responsible for unintended redemption. Rite Aid Rewards account is required and cannot be combined with like offers.
Bang up job on that one today, Zach.
I know I have to hit the disclaimer. It's kind of
hit it hard.
Not wearing a blue collar, but that kind of worker, right?
Nicely done.
Yeah.
While we're talking about Isaiah Rodgers, Zach, let's give him the nod. You know what nod I'm talking about?
Oh, the Shady Rays.
I'm talking about the Shady Rays. The future is bright because if we're putting on our rose-colored glasses after just watching 2 days of practice over the past 2 weeks, trying to think who is the future bright for on this Eagles team, well, it's Isaiah Rodgers. The future is bright, brought to you by Shady Rays. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY at checkout for 35% off polarized sunglasses.
You can say Roseman colored glasses. That's a that's a phrase you hear sometimes in the NFL. Roseman colored glasses.
Nice.
If you're like pro Howie on certain moves, they say you're wearing your Roseman colored glasses today.
Who's nice. They?
I've actually learned in this business sometimes if you just like ambiguously reference people around the league, it could help you. It can help you in your career. So just say other people in front offices that I speak to, right? That kind of thing.
Anonymous, high power.
Yeah,
movers and shakers.
Exactly. I just random texts that I have with people around the league. Yes.
Call him Godger Riddell.
Roger and I are not texting. Yeah.
Handwritten letters.
All right, let's
Snapchats.
Snapchats. Are you a Snapchatter?
No, but I don't know how you and Roger converse.
No. I had a funny thing last night.
Hidden.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not on. I don't use Snapchat.
I use Snapchat for one functionality and one functionality only. That is, Snapchat allows you to keep the music playing on your phone while you take a video. So if I'm taking a video of my kids like dancing to music or something, I got to use Snapchat because Apple, in all their great wisdom, won't let you do that.
Gotcha. I have Snapchat on my phone for a similar type thing that they have filters, I guess, that my kids love.
The filters.
Yeah. So there's probably an app for that I can download, but they go onto the Snapchat on my phone, and they take pictures with filters. So
nice. And the problem with Snapchat is like I'm telling that I use that functionality maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that. But no one's sending me Snapchats, and yet the notifications are filling up on that thing, and they're just nonsense. Like stop giving me notifications, Snapchat.
it takes okay. Sorry, I'm gonna calm down here. It takes 20 seconds to change the notification settings on your phone. I can do that for you tomorrow in the office. That'll be my weekend treat for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe we can do it on the show as part of Tic Tac Bow.
Yeah, well, I can see what random notifications you have up there. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can literally silent or turn off any type of notification.
Well, I don't mean the. I'm not talking about like a notification on my lock screen. I'm just talking about the bubble has like 8 red, like the number 8 in red or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I thought you were referring to like
no, not notification. No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean the unread thing, but it's just like popping up and like it's nothing. It's just junk.
Yeah. There's people trying to get in touch.
It's not people
Wulf.
trying to get in touch. It's them just serving me like Happy Arbor Day. Like,
are you anti Arbor Day?
I don't need a thing for that.
Yeah, you don't like trees?
I'm very pro tree.
Pro tree, okay.
Yeah.
Big Stanford fan. Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay. What did you make of the way that Cooper DeJean and Quinton Mitchell continued to be moved around by Vic Fangio? Do you think that this is an indication that they might be moving to the quote unquote positionless type secondary where everybody can be interchangeable? Or do you think it's more just trying to find the right spots for these guys?
Yeah. So for full disclosure, I wish I saw that snap with Mitchell, or I wish I logged it. I did not log that Mitchell snap there. So I don't have much to say, but the idea there, I think with the gene, it's relevant. I think that's going to be how they use the gene this year. I think with Mitchell, my presumption is it's just kind of practicing him in different spots, right? You want to have him ready, but my guess is during training camp we're going to see mostly Mitchell on the outside. I think the gene's going to line up all over the place. I do think the gene's going to be the chess piece for them, the player who plays slot outside. Like maybe safety, maybe like a dime linebacker, right? He can be used. Is there something in the chat, or did I say something funny there?
It's the chat, but that's okay. I'm still listening to you.
Okay, that he's used all over the field. That is my guess for DeJean. So I read more into it for DeJean than I do for Mitchell. Mitchell, and the other thing too is like they're low on slot corners right now. Maddox is playing safety primarily, right? Tyler Hall was the first safety. Oh, I'm sorry, was the first slot up, but it could be that too. That they're just kind of moving corners around right now.
Zach, an important note to you from DFOP Dan McQuaid wants you to know, and you may know this, that NVIDIA is down big today after it was revealed that one customer was a fifth of their revenue.
Give me 1 second here.
Oh,
here. Just give me 1 second here.
Oh no!
Oh wow! Oh, okay.
How big are we talking?
That NVIDIA is down.
Yeah.
I mean, they are down.
Zach's gonna have to take out a second job.
I mean, they're down
fourth job.
They're down 2.58% right now today. So I mean, you're still.
There goes college kids.
No, over the past 3 months, they're still up 327. So you're good.
Okay. I'm sorry to throw you off.
Thanks. I was wondering like what degree we were speaking about here.
Not really that much, Dan says.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any other depth chart stuff in the secondary or players in the secondary who jumped out to you?
Well, your boy Mekhi Gardner, right?
Yeah, it was a nice play.
Yeah, it was a nice play. It's a deep ball to John Ross, I believe.
John Ross. No, John Ross had a step. It was a bad throw.
Bad throw by Pickett. Yeah.
Let's take a step. Let's take a step back on the quarterbacks here because we talked about Hurts.
Yeah.
What have been your impressions of Kenny Pickett through 2 practices?
Well, I had a different read on him than you did after the first practice. I just thought he threw with a bit more zip than I was expecting.
Really?
Yeah. So now I defer to you. Like I don't say this to butter you up. I defer to you with practice observations. Typically, like you're a better observer of practice than I am.
I
But
just think we look at different things.
but I guess it was relative to my expectations, right? Like I thought he was going to be like Minshew-esque in terms of like the way he threw, and I thought there was a little more zip on the ball. But I thought today, like for instance, you're throwing to John Ross 4.2240, right? Don't underthrow him, just throw it as far as you can and let him go get it, right? And and Mekhi Garner made the adjustment on the ball.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, listen, am I in the tank for Tanner McKee over Kenny Pickett? Absolutely. I am a biased observer here, but I've been a little bit underwhelmed through 2 practices with Kenny Pickett. It's been 2 practices. He's learning a new offense. He's in a new place. We'll see how he looks in the summer. Now, Tanner McKee didn't look very good today either, so that's fine.
Held on the ball for a long time. That's the other thing that's standing out is there are times, and I saw that again with Hurts today.
Yeah,
where it's like, just throw it, man.
7 on 7, guys. Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, so that jumped out to me as well.
Yeah, kind of weird. Okay, elsewhere in the secondary, the Sean Stevens play was nice, good for him. A guy to root for on the back end of the roster. He and John Ross, the 2 guys who earned roster spots from rookie tryout. He's a little bit older, but that's okay. Eli Ricks was back, as you said. Josh Jobe far down in the depth chart, like working with the 3rd team today. So maybe not a great indication of his standing at the moment in the pecking order. But again, it's May.
Yeah.
You know what we haven't talked about, which is an important one on defense, is that last week Nakobe Dean was not participating in 7-on-7s with the Eagles. Today he was sort of a rotational participant, so he was not fully like there for every snap, but he was there for a handful of snaps at a time. And it was interesting because it was, if you were reading into it, it was not like him and then Devin White. It was Devin White and then Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond working around each other. Then Nakobe Dean would stay on for a couple snaps with the second team. So I think it's fair to just view it as like Vic Fangio, and sort of the way he talked about it a couple of weeks ago would indicate this. Vic Fangio does not view Nakobe Dean as LB1, the centerpiece of the defense necessarily. I think he has to earn that spot.
Yeah, well said. I agree with you. Vic Fangio didn't draft Nakobe Dean. I know how he did, but Vic's going to determine the personnel on defense, right? So you're right. He is going to have to earn it, and he is coming back from injury. But that's going to be a major training camp competition to observe.
We have a super chat from Too Much Sauce, Zach, who wants to know if the series goes 7, do you have Minnesota or Dallas?
Well, if it goes 7, I have Minnesota, right? Because if Minnesota wins 3 in a row, they have the momentum. You think they've made some adjustments, right? Being back home doesn't necessarily, like they lost 2 at home already. They won Game 7 on Denver's court, so I'm not saying that like being back home is the big tilt there. But typically, I shouldn't say typically. I keep thinking back to the 2004 ALCS, where once the Red Sox got momentum, I remember being in college going into that Game 7 Red Sox Yankees, and I'm like, the Red Sox are going to win here, right? Like they have it on the Yankees right now. They've won 3 in a row. So I think if you fight back from 3-0 to get it to Game 7, then I tend to think the team that fought back is going to win it.
Okay. Adam in the chat mentions the possibility of Josh Jobe as a trade candidate. We have talked about this. For whatever reason, I view Eli Ricks as the guy most likely to be traded from that group because I think he would be more attractive to other teams as only having 1 year under his belt. You've got 3 more years of team control, got a little bit of inside-outside versatility, and he is I like Eli Ricks. There are if he was on a different team, I think he could fight for playing time. But on this particular team right now, he is sort of buried just by circumstance.
Yeah, Josh Jobe, I think more of his values on special teams than on defense. I think Eli Ricks certainly has more defensive upside. If a team's trading for a corner, it's probably the defensive upside that draws them in.
Yeah, there you go.
I have one other defensive observation,
Please.
if I can. Like Brandon Graham, he told us a few weeks ago that, or he told the media, I think I left to come back for the show that day, that like he's soaking it all in, year 15, right? And he really is, man. Like they're using him all the time in these 7-on-7 drills. As Bo said a few minutes ago, Josh Sweat is not here. They have Bryce Huff and Brandon Graham taking like all the work with the ones in 7-on-7. Like you would think Nolan Smith would.
Which, to be fair, is a light lift. It's
sure,
you're not
but I'm
really
just saying,
rushing the passer. You're just sort of out there.
No, but I'm saying like Brandon Graham, year 15, dropping in the coverage over and over and over again. You would think that like sometimes those guys, it's like, hey, Brandon, just stay on ice, man. Be the energy guy. We'll see you in week 1. But I mean, Brandon is like the old guy who is soaking this all up. So that's one thing I noticed, because I kept saying, like, when are they going to put Nolan Smith in here? When are they? I want to see Nolan Smith here. I want to see Nolan Smith here. And it was a lot of Brandon Graham.
Yeah. Okay. Well said. All right. Elsewhere, you want to talk real nitty gritty sicko type stuff on the depth chart. Let's talk about the offensive line. Zach, had a chance to look over there, and surprisingly, really no changes from last week. And I think the one that you and I talked about as we really wanted to see what was going to happen, Matt Hennessy, again, second team right guard with Tyler Steen as the first team right guard. Now we know that Matt Hennessy has versatility. We'll see if it changes next week, but 2 days we've seen now where he is working exclusively at right guard, seemingly setting that up to be somewhat of a head-to-head competition heading into the summer. Yeah,
you are right about that. And that was a big question that we had, if it was going to be center guard for Hennessy. But the fact that it's not does make that seem more like a position competition. And they had their first their first 11-on-11 work today as well. We should point that out.
That we saw, yes. So Becton was at right tackle because no Lane Johnson. So you got the first team offensive line: Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, Mekhi Becton. Cam Jurgens, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, Zach, when he took off his helmet. Bit of a new look on him, sort of letting the curly blonde hair flow a little bit. Had a bit of a headband going. Looked a little bit looser, a little more comfortable. Kind of a Harley race look to what he had going on up top with the lettuce.
Every time I'm on the show with you, I feel so ignorant. Who is Harley Race? Is that someone else I should know?
A wrestler from long ago.
Okay. Once again, not a reference. I understand. If you went
that one, I have
okay.
There's no reason that you needed to know that.
Would you call him blonde or red? The hair.
I think in the sun it looks blonde to me.
Okay.
You call him red?
I think it's more red.
Really?
Maybe. Okay. I could be wrong. Yeah. Somewhere in the middle there. Strawberry blonde.
We'll have to ask him this. We'll have to ask him if
yeah, Joy has the perfect
description.
I would not ask him that, Bo. Joy's description is awesome. Strawberry blonde.
There you go.
I didn't.
Offensive line, left to right. Fred Johnson at left tackle. Darian Kennard at left guard. You love the rhyme of that. Good flow. Darian Kennard at left guard. At center, Brett Toth. I don't know that the Brett Toth center experience. This transition's been going on for like 5 years. It's like watching a tanker like trying to turn around. Like just the how long it's taking for this transition, but that's okay.
That would make more sense if you went to the Navy as opposed to the Army.
Well, there you go. Right guard Jason Poe, my man, and boy, Jason Poe had a great rep in individuals, and Jeff Stoutland was really gassing him up, like that's how it's done, Poe. And that I was just fanning myself because Jason Poe is really what it's all about, as far as I'm
Camp Crush material, or just
absolutely Camp Crush,
just
material.
Soft spot in the heart material.
Both.
Okay. No, because Camp Crush material has to be someone who you think is like a real player, not just like a
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's Stout's gassing him up.
How about Bruce Feldman giving the Jason Poe love when you tweeted that out last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anything Bruce endorses, I am all over.
There you go. Hard to disagree. Second team right tackle was Aneem Dankwa. No, is that right? Yeah, I think that's right.
Right tackle is Dankwa. Yeah.
Yes, he's been playing right tackle. And then third team, you've got Laiken Vakalahi at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Keegan at left guard. Again, sticking to left guard, not working at right guard. Dylan McMahon at center. I'm going off the top of my head here. Gottlieb Ayedje at right tackle. And who am I forgetting at right guard? This is going to bother me.
Sure will.
66, which is that was Jason Poe. He was with the
You missed
three.
Your boy. You missed
Matt
your
Hennessy
boy.
That's why. That's because
Okay.
I forgot I had Hennessy in there.
You got so excited.
I got so excited about Poe.
Yeah, so excited about Poe. Exactly.
Poe, I believe Con Air. Right? Isn't that his last name?
I know the poet, Edgar Allan, but
Cameron Poe. Yeah.
Gotcha. At UVA, they have like Edgar Allan Poe's dorm room, right? I believe it's Edgar Allan Poe. I hope I'm not conflating it with another another poet, but his dorm room on the ground.
Ralph Sampson?
No, his dorm room is like the original that it was back when he was there.
That sounds honestly like the makings of a Edgar Allan Poe story. Like, it sounds kind of creepy.
Let me Google this real quick so I don't give false information. But when I started covering UVA, I tried to learn a lot about the school. Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe's room at UVA. Okay, thank you.
That's creepy. You know what's not creepy, Zach?
What's that?
Butcher Box.
Definitely not creepy.
With Butcher Box, you can easily find high-quality meat and seafood you can trust, and they will send it to you free shipping. We are talking high-quality stuff. 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork-raised, crate-free, and wild-caught seafood, humanely raised with no antibiotics or added hormones, and it is free shipping always. I think I said hormones yesterday, too.
You did.
What's up with the hormones?
Well, you'll find out in about a decade.
Promiscuous
right?
moons.
You'll find out in about a decade.
Here.
Yes.
The thing about Butcher Box is that it is an incredible value with a variety of high-quality cuts at an amazing value with exclusive member deals and recipe inspiration guides, tips, and hacks. And we love you. Butcher Box loves us. And by the transitive property, Butcher Box loves you. That's why they're offering you this amazing deal. They are offering our listeners an amazing offer where new users get free meat plus $20 off your first box. Join today using our link at butcherbox.com/PHLY and use code PHLY to receive this exclusive offer today before time runs out.
Now, you know, Bo, that I love a mock draft, right? And so I was pumped to read Charlie O'Connor's NHL mock draft there. I'm a sucker for all types of mock drafts. I mean, I've been consuming MLB mock drafts elsewhere. I'm real into to see if Charlie Condon's going to go number one, but I certainly know that Macklin Celebrini, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, is the projected number one pick in the NHL, and that's because I read it on Charlie O'Connor's mock draft on allphly.com. Allphly.com is the place to go for comprehensive Philadelphia coverage. We have all teams covered. People are always asking, what is the best way to support our show? And the answer is to become a PHLY diehard. The best part is there's a lot in it for you. When you become a diehard, you immediately get to choose a free shirt or hat of your choice from the PHLY locker, and you get another of us. And I'm sorry, you get one every single year at renewal. You also instantly get access to the PHLY Discord Lounge, which I always check. I should participate in it more, but I'm always seeing. Jamie's making me laugh out loud on that often. You can chat with Philly sports fans away from all the BS on Twitter, and you also unlock 20% off merchant events for the entirety of your time as a member. And those are just some of the perks of being a PHLY diehard. I frankly think the biggest perk of all is the exclusive content that we have. Right? It's the stories from Jim Salisbury, from Derek Bodner, and you go on down the list. Les Bowen. We have Kyle Newbeck. We have so many talented people on our staff. Bo Wulf, you can head over to allphly.com now and join the best sports fans in the city.
A couple of just small notes to rattle off before we get to the press conferences. Anaya Smith, the 5th-round rookie, who did not participate in team stuff last week, still working his way back from the shin injury he suffered during the pre-draft process. Again, not involved in team drills today, but he did participate in punt return drills. So maybe just
fumbled one.
What?
Muffed one. He muffed one.
He did muff one, yes. And just a small indication that he's doing a little bit more. He joined Britton Covey, Cooper DeJean, and Isaiah Rodgers as the punt returners there. AJ Brown, like a lot of passes today on the offense, like a lot of just short stuff. Like a lot of 6-yard passes to AJ Brown in today's practice for whatever reason.
Not the worst thing in the world, right?
Not the best thing in the world.
I mean, Bill Walsh won Super Bowls that way.
Okay. It was 30 years ago.
Anti-Bill Walsh over here.
40 years ago. Okay. Let's see. Will Shipley had a nice catch at one point. I'll tell you what. We talked about AJ Jenkins. AJ Jenkins has had a nice, a couple flashy plays down the seam. He had a nice catch on a back shoulder throw from Kenny Pickett at one point. Grant Calcaterra has had a couple nice catches. You talk about the guys at tight end outside of Dallas Goedert. You would really think that Albert Okwuegbunam would be well suited to flash in the spring. He hasn't done anything.
Man, Albert O, you get on me for.
I'm just saying, like we talk about the guys who are supposed to the deck is stacked in their favor in the spring to look flashy. Albert O should be one of those guys, and he has not been.
This is like the difference between you and me, is that I say I'm underwhelmed by the Devontae Parker signing, and it turns into 3 months of material for your part, on your part.
You didn't say you were underwhelmed. You said they should fold the franchise. I believe.
Yeah, and then you're not impressed enough with the 3rd tight end or the 4th tight end on the roster in OTAs, and it's like, that's just astute observing. Yeah, Alberto is not flashing right now. I agree with that. I mean, I'm not expecting Alberto to be the biggest difference maker. We'll see how he looks in training camp.
Okay. Anything else from a play-by-play perspective? I have a couple that are related to the guys who talked afterwards, but otherwise.
Yeah, just the other thing that I would add is we spoke last week about the pre-snap motion, and you see it in particular with Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown. You see motion, you see shifts, and I think that's relevant. I think one thing they're going to try to do is isolate certain matchups for AJ and for Saquon this year. And they're, actually in the individual drills with the QBs and the running backs, they were doing one particular drill where the running backs they all started off in the slot and they motioned behind Hurts. Right. And I think you're going to continue to see a lot of movement from those guys on offense.
Well said. Okay, Zach, after practice, you already talked about Isaiah Rodgers. We also heard from Paris Campbell, John Ross, Jordan Davis, and Nolan Smith. Boy, did I fall in love with John Ross.
Take it to your heart, right?
Totally charmed me with that press conference. Didn't you think that was delightful?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Anytime.
I actually know you did, because we've talked about like the low bar of like a Howie Roseman joke to get like fake laughs from reporters, and like if anybody makes like just kind of a mediocre joke on the podium, it gets a guffaw. John Ross made a joke that like you like fully cackled at from your seat, just like you were at a stand-up show. You love comedy.
I do love comedy. Going Saturday to a comedy
He had
show.
you hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. I forget what was the line specifically, but it was good.
It was about somebody asked him about his, the record for the fastest 40 time being broken. And
yeah.
The thing is, It's not like I got paid for it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good line, right? Yeah, I mean, look, I'll bare my soul a bit here, if you will. Yeah, I found it touching. Like I have a 6-year-old son who turns 7 next in 2 weeks on June 15th. Same day as Nick Sirianni's birthday, actually. And John Ross was talking about like the conversations that he has with his son. He said, it's just to kind of summarize, if you did not see the press conference, that
let's assume that most people have not seen the press conference.
Okay, yeah. So do you want to sum it up, and then I'll
No,
get
go
the
ahead. You're in the
touch.
middle. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was talking about the year away. He did not want to retire, or he said he knew it was a mistake when he did retire.
He said the day he retired, he knew it was a mistake.
Yeah, he had to get a lot in order in his personal life, but he said he's got to spend time with his family or with his son. He has a 7-year-old son, and he really valued that time. And so Bo being, Bo, I always like Bo asks very human questions in the press conference, kind of talked about the challenge of being away from his son right now. And he said, his son,
because it changed his life to be able to get to see his son every single day.
Exactly.
And so now he has to be away from him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said his son like kind of knows the responsibility, but they're talking all the time. And his son's at the age now where it's like, how was practice today? And where are you, what's this meeting you're going to? And like, I had to keep myself from laughing because he said the Eagles were the second choice for his son to go to. The number one choice is Lamar Jackson, right? Is the Ravens. Like, that's kind of how, I told my son today that I was going to practice, and he was so jealous. And he was like, are you going to see Reed Blankenship? And he was asking me
the same question.
Yeah. He was asking me about a few other players on the team today. So in any event, like they're at the same age, so I could kind of empathize with him there, or I should say relate to him in that situation. So yeah, I found that cool. The other thing, like because this is obviously not about me, I was just kind of giving some insight there, but I thought it was interesting when he said you would think that a guy who was a top 10 pick, when you're asked to try out for a team, you're like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm done. Like that's a sign that you're out. But given the way his career's gone, he really appreciates. He really appreciated coming back and doing this. He said he can still run. Like that's the one thing about him. He can still run. And I gave the it's not really a big note, but after rookie minicamp, I asked someone in the building about John Ross. They said he could still run. That's the exact thing that the person said, is he can still run. So yeah, so that's
said
cool
he thinks he's faster now than ever, and the reason he thinks that is because he thinks he can be faster consistently now. He can be fast every day, whereas in the past maybe he had some nagging injuries, and that wasn't always the case. The consistency. Listen, I think this is it's a fascinating human story, and we don't want to overplay it based on one press conference. But it seems like an easy guy to root for, and somebody to root for. This is a guy who came in as a top 10 pick, had one solid season, but was mostly disappointment. Retired early. He's still young now. He's been out of the league for a few years. Goes to rookie camp tryout, earns a spot in part because Devontae Parker retires, and now he's here. And I'll tell you what, like he looked fast on the field. Sure. He did. He ran past those guys. He beat Quinton Mitchell man to man on a little stop route in the middle of the field at one point during 7-on-7s. Who knows how long it will last? But if you're looking for that speed option, if it's not Paris Campbell, who we will also get to, and who I also thought was very likable, John Ross has something. He's a fun guy to root for.
Sure. Same thing with Paris Campbell. What do you want to say about Campbell?
Well, just to close on Ross, like he did have that great perspective, and he talked a lot about his son, and a guy who just sort of appreciates where he is now. So I think that's fun. He absolutely won me over. Not that I matter.
Good. No,
but that's
you're a tough judge sometimes.
You got 90 guys on the roster. Not everybody's, not everybody's Jalen Hurts, the biggest star on the team. Everybody's fighting for their work life here. And there's a lot of great stories, and I think John Ross is a guy to root for.
You tend to be a sucker for the kids angle. Whenever there's
Of
a
course,
guy,
I'm a sucker for the kids angle. This is a dad's
yeah.
podcast. This is a podcast of two dads who sort of talk about the Eagles.
This is a podcast for everybody. We welcome everybody. We're not discriminating. You can be a mom, you can be a dad.
I'm not saying only dads watch the show.
Okay.
But
okay. Yeah.
I think the central conceit of the show is two dads talking about football and sometimes making sex jokes.
Speak for yourself there. I think the premise is to inform and entertain you about the Philadelphia Eagles. But
yeah, and that's the inherent tension of the show.
The irony is, for 5 years, we've been doing opposite shows. We're not opposite, separate shows, right? Like, it's like when you watch a movie and you didn't understand what the movie was, and two people thought the movie was about something totally different. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course I'm a sucker for that.
Okay. Yeah.
You're not?
Oh, of course. No, I'm just saying I know, like, if I was a coach and I got hired and I say to the PR staff, give me a scouting report on all the reporters, and I would know that to you, tilt my questions or tilt my answers to like the father-son thing, and I would have you won over, right?
Depends. I think you can tell it when people are faking it. John Ross wasn't faking it.
You know what they say in politics. I don't talk politics on this show, but there's an expression that it's all about being genuine, and once you can fake that, you got it made.
Okay,
that is an expression.
Let's talk Paris Campbell, because I thought he was also very likable and another guy who has interesting perspective, having been around the league for a little bit. And also being a early round pick who has disappointed relative to that investment, has one good season to his credit. He said the reason he wanted to be here, there was the Nick Sirianni connection, which he appreciates, and it's interesting for him to see Nick now, having known him before. He appreciates that he hasn't really changed who he is, speaking to that genuineness. But the big reason he wanted to be here is I want to be around greatness, he said. And with A.J. Brown, who was in the same draft class as him, and Devontae Smith here, he thinks that there's a good chance to learn. And he laments some of the bad breaks that he's had in his career. He views some of his injuries as having been fluky. He said that he's the kind of person who sort of dwells on the bad more than relishes in the good, which maybe endeared himself to you, Zach. I know that that's something that you would appreciate, but I really liked his perspective too, and he was fun to hear from.
Agree there, and thought that he kind of thinks the Eagles are a good match here. He thought in 2019,
got a sinking chair,
that he was going to come to Philly, and he felt really good about the team after that, after his top 30 visit that year, and just the all the familiar faces, Nick Sirianni chief among them, was a big draw for him to come here, and he certainly has an opportunity. Yeah. Jordan Davis. First off, Jordan Davis, I know there was a lot of attention paid at the Eagles Autism Challenge when pictures surfaced of Jordan Davis there about the weight that he's lost or the shape that he's in. And yeah, he confirms conditioning is a big part of this. He's given up juices. And
especially Arizona iced tea, which I like in Arizona too, but you can't be drinking those all the time.
Yeah, a lot of sugar in that. And he's been taking hikes. He does not want to stay stationary in his house. He can always be moving. And he's 350 pounds. Okay. Which is down from last year. He said, you were 350 last year, right? And he's like, no, I was a little bit more. And I kind of took that to mean a lot more, right? Like based on the way he said it.
Yes.
And kind of the funny thing is the Eagles website lists him at 336, which goes to show you like how off these numbers are. But yeah, he's 350 right now. So 6'6", 350. He wears it well. He's wearing it bad, or he's wearing it decently. He knows how important a year this is for him. He really seems to be like embracing the nose tackle part of this job under Vic Fangio. And he spoke a lot about
be the wall for the line.
Exactly. and they're really counting on him for that. So I did ask him about the pass rushing, and look, that's always going to be a question here. But when he was drafted, the big talking point was because of the athleticism coming off the combine and where he was drafted, that here he's, he has pass rush moves in his body that were just not utilized at Georgia, or he has pass rush potential that was not utilized at Georgia. And I think now the Eagles might be thinking like, let's just have the Jordan Davis of Georgia, right? Let's have the guy who can really affect first and second down, and let's lean into that. So I think that's going to be something you see quite a bit this year.
Yeah. He was also asked, as most guys on defense are these days, about Vic Fangio. He said he appreciates he said no BS, although he didn't say BS. Those Georgia guys, they really like to curse on the.
Yeah, I like it. It's authenticity, right?
Okay, of course you do. You're always working blue.
No, Bo. I mean, I'll say it like this. I want somebody when they're speaking to us to be who they are, right? If you curse in your normal like that's why I enjoy when Lane Johnson's Lane Johnson to us, right?
Sure.
Like don't try to turn it on. Don't start cursing every third word to seem, to seem a certain way. But I want them to speak the way they speak, and I want them to. I like Nolan Smith said today. I just got off the practice field. Like, this is how I talk on the practice field. I want that, and so I appreciate the curses for that particular reason.
Okay. You just
seem
like
to disagree.
blue. No, I think there's a difference in the way that the two of them did it. I think Jordan Davis does it authentically. I think Nolan Smith is doing a little bit more for effect.
Ooh, you seem anti-Nolan here. Yeah.
I'm not anti-Nolan.
Okay.
I hope Nolan Smith turns into a great player. I'll tell you what my antenna is up about. This is more of a life truism than a Nolan Smith particular thing. Beware the person who tells you how hard they work.
Okay.
Show me. Don't tell me.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. Now, in his defense, he can't show you you're not around him every day. So you can't say it. Like Jalen Hurts does the same thing, right?
Right.
Andy, yeah. Do I do that? Andy reads much that says, doesn't ZB do that? I hope you don't feel that way about me.
No, I don't. I know. Okay. I watch you. I don't know anyone who works harder than you, but you're not puffing your chest out about that.
No, like you said yesterday, we're not digging ditches here. I'm reading disclaimers on Right Hand ads. Like let's keep this in perspective. Nothing. There was a point in Nolan Smith's press conference today where he was talking about Jordan Davis, and he says, I asked about what he's seen Jordan Davis, and he's talking about these drills that Jordan Davis is doing and how hard they're. He's like, you couldn't do that.
No, he said you. He didn't say you can do it. He pointed at. Now I was listening in the car. He pointed at you. He said you would die.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, yeah, but I don't play defensive tackle. I'm not a professional football player. Like Nolan. If you wrote an 87,000 word book in your free time during 3 months of the summer, I don't know how well you would do at that, man. So everyone has different skill sets. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
Okay. Now listen, Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith together are an incredibly important inflection point on how this defense is going to be this season, right? Like, the Eagles made big investments in them. They're expecting big things. Fletcher Cox is gone now. Hassan Reddick is gone. Bryce Huff is here, but they need those guys to take a leap. And if one of them takes a leap, that's probably good enough. If they both take a leap, that's great. The defense has a chance to be really good. Could be a top 10. If they're both at about the level they were last year, it's probably hard to be able to see this team being a top half of the league defense. They're very important players.
Yeah, and look, I was high on Nolan Smith when they drafted him. I still am. I like the player. I like the person. I like the juice that he has. I read, I've read a good Dan Pompei story this morning about D'Amico Ryans. And D'Amico Ryan starts every day saying, "Great morning," not "good morning." He says, "Great morning," right? That's his approach.
Of course he does. He gets to look in the mirror.
Yeah. I might need to steal that. So I like the enthusiasm, the energy, the juice that Nolan Smith has. And from a football perspective, like, I liked him at training camp last year. I was kind of mystified why he wasn't more productive as a rookie. I'm curious to see him this year, but I would take the Nolan Smith stock. It's probably down a little after last year. I think you can get it at a good price.
There you go. All right. Anything else jump out?
Well, we're gonna have ample time, to talk about this. We're back on the field Tuesday. We'll get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. Tomorrow we're doing Tick Zach Bo.
I'm excited about this.
And
now, are you pulling it together again?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do so much for the show that seriously, that the audience should recognize, like, Bo and Joya especially. Like, this is, Bo makes it easy and Joya makes it easy, just like for me to prepare for what I talk about without having to do a lot of the like behind the scenes stuff. So I think you deserve one day a week where I pick the framing device and pick the questions, and
I think it's a good device. Yeah. I like it.
And I will make sure, though. So I brought that up as a way of saying I will make sure to incorporate some stuff from these OTAs in the Eagles part of there. So even though tomorrow's show is not dedicated to OTAs, we'll have some OTAs chatter in there.
And we're live at noon tomorrow.
We're live at noon, and I will be on the Anthony Gargano show with Jamie Lynch tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I have big shoes to follow, or I can never literally fit in Bo's shoes. But Bo was on with Jamie on Tuesday, and I got to tell you, those YouTube numbers for that VOD, they're skyrocketing.
Were they? I didn't even see.
Yeah, they're huge.
Funny. I'm doing baldy numbers?
No, not baldy numbers. Don't get ahead of yourself. No one does baldy numbers. But I it used to be, if I was up at like 3 a.m. Emily would say, "Oh, what did McLean write?" Right. And now she's saying, like, what are the YouTube numbers? Right. Because I am monitoring those things all around the clock. I have a quick funny, I just have a quick funny anecdote before we go to, or before we get off. As you all know, it's my anniversary yesterday. Bo did a great job with that, and was raving about how creative Bo is. But last night, I was doing work on a piece up on all PHLY today, and then I had some other stuff that I was preparing for. And I come in, and there's no NBA games. I come into our room. There's no NBA games on, so I put on Netflix, and I see what the popular things are that people are watching. And I put this documentary on, and it's a documentary on Ashley Madison. Have you watched this?
That's how you're celebrating your anniversary.
I'm like, it's all nice for you to put this on. Probably shouldn't put this on.
That is very funny.
But I'm like, I should.
Let's settle in for a nice romantic evening.
No, she was sleeping by then. But I just thought
even
it was
worse.
I just thought it was kind of funny. I just got to feel it was kind of funny. Yeah,
that is very funny
of all things. So that's when I turned that off. Log on to Max. I suppose I'm a sucker for the streaming services here. I've already got that reputation. Log on to Max, put on the West Wing, and fall asleep watching Sorkin. Nothing wrong with that, right?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on how it affects your sleeping habits. It doesn't sound great. But...
No, but then I'm up looking at we didn't get a lot of comments on yesterday's show.
How would Emily have done in the game yesterday?
Well, she wasn't impressed that I got the registry right. She's like, yeah, you should have gotten that. I was just like,
okay.
I like those places. And then she just commented on how creative you are, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You use how there are like certain words in the English language where it's like it's always another word coming after it, like ensuing, kickoff. And so there are words like that. You used ample before. I feel like there's only 2 words that come after ample.
Opportunity. That's how I use it. And what else?
Oh,
I say ample.
That's 3. Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Ample
What do you
time,
say?
ample opportunity,
Okay.
ample bosom.
I've never once used that ever.
But you know that that's a phrase.
I did not know that was a phrase. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Bosom. All right. It's like the 1950s. Who says bosom anymore? Yeah.
Yeah. Ample bosom. That's a thing.
There's other words I can think of than bosom, but sorry about that.
That now, I do wish we had drops, because if we could have you saying there's other words I can think of besides bosom, that really wouldn't be a good start to the show.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's. I got my son's little league game tonight, so let's get rolling here.
All right, let's do that. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. We will talk to you tomorrow at noon for a rousing edition of Tic Zac Bo, and continue to stay tuned and all that good stuff. Rate, review, subscribe, evangelize the show, spread the word, so we can get those ample numbers rising. For Zach and Julia, I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you tomorrow, and as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.